the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Now let's go to the gospel, because this too was fulfilled in a way we don't understand. This is the Pool of Bethesda, and it was a healing shrine, but they had, really kind of a superstition that an angel would come down and trouble the waters. He would stir up the waters, and the first one in would get healed. Well, that's why he says, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water's stirred up. While I'm on the way, someone else gets down there before me." Jesus said, "Rise, take up your mat and walk." And the man became well, took up his mat and walked. Now, first of all, there's the pool in the Hebrew called Bethesda, and my word of the day is going to be Bethesda because it's kind of an interesting word, with 5 porticos. Scholars used to protest loudly that, well, that's ridiculous. That's clear that this is not written contemporary to Christ because of this Gospel of John, because at that time there was no pentagon structure in the ancient world. The ancients did not build pentagonal structures. That is a structure with 5 sides. So this couldn't have been accurate. That must be a mistake of some kind. Well, then they dug up the 5 porticos. They dug up the pool, and it had 4 porches going down the 4 sides of the pool, and one going down the middle, 5 porticos. In other words, when you read the scriptures and you expect your own vision of them to be reflected, you may be wrong. I always joke about, everyone knows there was a Persian rug at the Last Supper because it's in the Da Vinci painting. Well, the Da Vinci painting was 1,500 years after Christ, and there's no Persian rug in the Da Vinci painting either, as far as I know. But I saw it. I saw it in a book. Or I saw it on television. The voice manager said, Dan Brown told me in his book, what was that? What's the idiotic book? Oh, the Da Vinci Code, yeah. I get the biggest kick out of the people who say Da Vinci painted the Shroud of Turin. We have clear historical records from centuries before Da Vinci. People want to say what they want. They want to see what they want to see. And part of reading the scripture is to allow yourself to see what's actually there. So, well, let's go on. Now, let me just explain this last shtickle, which means hunk. Now, that day was a Sabbath. So the Jews, now read Judeans here, said to the man who was cured, "It is the Sabbath. It's not lawful for you to carry your mat." He answered, "The man who made me well told me, take up your mat and walk." "Who was the man who told you?" "The man was healed. He didn't know who it was. Jesus had slipped away since there was a crowd." After this, Jesus found him in the temple area and said, "Look, you're well. Don't sin anymore, that nothing worse may happen to you." In other words, God's going to curse him and give him a worse disease. I don't believe that's true. Sin is worse than sickness. I think that's what's going on here. The something worse would be to live in sin. Go your way. You're well. Sin no more, that nothing worse, sin itself, happened. The man went and told the Jews, told the Judeans, and these are the Judean authorities, that Jesus was the one who made him well. Therefore, the Judeans began to persecute Jesus because he did this on a Sabbath. What's the deal? You could save a life on the Sabbath, but you couldn't heal on the Sabbath. For instance, if you found a man bleeding to death, you could tie up the wound so he didn't bleed to death. But you couldn't put any medicine on the wound to make it better because that was the work of a doctor. So Jesus was doing the work of a doctor on the Sabbath. They couldn't see past their own interpretation to something more profound, that Jesus had in fact saved this man's life by restoring him to health. I think this is a huge problem in the reading the scripture. I really enjoy the series The Chosen. It's really good. I just do not like the Sermon on the Mount. It was really bad. Jesus was nervous about the sermon. He was asking, how did I do? I don't think Jesus did that. The only person who was interested, in whose opinion he was really interested, was the Father's. But then you get to something like the walking on the water, and that scene it's a goosebumper. I mean, it is profound. So I would say The Chosen is when weighed out, the good far outweighs the bad in it. But what's going to happen, I fear, is going to say, well, everybody knows that Matthew was autistic. He was a high-functioning autistic. He was? Yeah, it's in the Bible. No, it's not. I remember meeting some Roma who actually, a person who was a friend of mine, had lived with the Roma. It's not easy to do. The Roma are very private. People call them the Gypsies. The proper name is the Roma people. And I will never forget being invited to dinner in a Roma house. And one of the brothers-in-law of my host said that the Roma have the right to steal. And I said, they do? He said, yeah, because there were 4 nails that Jesus was going to be crucified with. And one of us snuck up Calvary, one of them was gold, and we snuck up the hill and stole the gold spike, the gold nail. And God was so grateful to us that he gave us the right to commandeer certain things. And he said, it's in the Bible. I said, I read it and I didn't see that. Read it again. It's in there. You may think that funny, and I hope I'm not offending anyone. The Roma I've met are wonderful people, but they are very private. Well, you may think that's humorous, but we do that all the time. We put the Persian rug at the Last Supper. Or somebody, someone called in the other day and said, well, Jesus said he was going to give everybody, all the 12 disciples, kingdoms of their own. No, he didn't. He said he'd give them thrones to render justice and judgment to the 12 tribes, which was one of the messianic expectations of the Essenes, I believe. So we read things into the Bible because that's what our grandmother told us. And to really read the scriptures, you almost have to read it with absolutely fresh eyes. And now in the Gospel of John, I believe that was written to tell the followers of John the Baptist. John the disciple wrote it to tell the followers of John the Baptist that Jesus was the Messiah. John had said that he was not the Messiah, that Jesus was. These things have been written so that you might know that Jesus is the Christ, is the Messiah. And one of the evidences to me is the constant theme of water. These people, the Dead Sea sectaries who, the Dead Sea Squirrels who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, they were obsessed with cleanliness, ritual cleanliness, and bathing. And the constant theme of water in the Gospel of John, I think, is an indication of that. But that's just one of my harebrained theories.
That was the Best of the Week on Relevant Radio. The best way to listen to the Best of the Week is on the Relevant Radio app. Free and always free. Download and share the #1 free Catholic app today in the App Store.